Welcome to the Vitality Show here at Earl's Court. My name's Nana Akweer, aka Lady Exercise. There is so much happening. Check this out. This is the main stage, the Zest Fitness Park. There's a major workout happening. I'm here with Max from Conscious Food, and your food is very conscious.
Indeed, Nana, it is. Everything we do is sourced from our own biodynamic farms. Our company is co-owned with our workers. So by buying from us, you can be sure that it's fairer than fair trade, as it were. However, the most important part is that we're one of the very few companies in the world that actually actively trying to grow the topsoil. And because everything in this planet grows from the topsoil.
What are your main products?
Well, we have a range of power snacks. They're sweet, both sweet and savory. And our sweet range is made without a single grain of processed sugar, you see. The reason why they're called power snacks is because any two biscuits will keep you going for up to 3 hours in terms of energy. 0 fat and only 5 calories per biscuit. Because the majority of them are made with the most wondrous substance called millet.
Now, there's one of your products that I'm actually trying out at the moment, the digestive mix.
The thing is, the digestive mix, it's the world's only Ayurvedic digestive mix. What it means, it's just basically in Ayurvedic medicine, when the patient has a problem and diagnosed by an Ayurvedic doctor, and doctor creates a special herb remedy particular to that patient's problem. This is for the first time ever, and it has taken us a process of several years and huge team of the top Ayurvedic doctors to create not one size fits all, but a natural herbal product which gets rid of the most complex digestive issues.
So this is
ginger. This is Ginger Crunch. It was officially voted the best sweet snack in the world by Free From Food Awards in 2011. If a person has a healthy diet, they can't even have a headache. It's a biological impossibility.
Okay.
So it's all about the diet.
About
Hippocrates said, your life begins in your gut, and he was absolutely right.
Max, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Nana.
It's been very educational.
Thank you.
My name's Dr. MARILYN GLENVILLE. I'm a nutritionist and I specialise in women's health. I run a number of clinics, 2 in London, 1 in Tunbridge Wells in Kent, and also have clinics in Ireland as well. And I look after women through the clinic with problems like polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, fibroids, women going through the menopause who can't or don't want to take HRT, working on prevention of osteoporosis, and we brought the bone scanner with us from the clinic today, and we've also got the body fat machine with us, so any brave souls afterwards, especially as the topic of the talk today is fat around the middle. I will be talking tomorrow, I think it's actually 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I'm not sure, on the 7 most important supplements for women's health. So if you're around tomorrow, very welcome to join me again. So we're going to be looking at fat around the middle, and we're going to be looking at why it goes on around the middle of the body and not somewhere else, and also why it's a health risk. So why it's not just a cosmetic problem that your clothes might feel a bit tighter, you feel uncomfortable, why it's something you need to do something about. And you'll also find it interesting because this affects the men in your life as well. It's just that it's been a more unusual pattern of weight gain for us as women, and you'll see why. Now, I ended up writing a book called Fat Around the Middle because women were coming into the clinic and saying, actually, my arms and legs are fine. If you could cut the middle out, I'd be really happy. And it wasn't just women who were going towards the menopause, who were getting a bit older, thinking they're losing their waist. If you look down the high street, you'll see young girls with this muffin top over the top of their jeans. So it's not an age situation. It can be happening to any woman and the men in your life as well. So think about them as we go through this. Now, in the UK, we don't win many awards. We're not very good at sports and that, but the Department of Health in 2005 says now we've got the fattest stomachs recorded in history. So maybe we're winning in one area that maybe we shouldn't really be. Now, what was interesting, in the 1950s, they did a national sizing survey, and they repeated it in 2004. Now, this was done on women only. And what you'll see here, that as women, we've got 1.5 inches taller, 1.5 inches larger around the bust and the hips, and a staggering 6.5 inches bigger around the middle. So we are changing shape as women. We're becoming apple shaped. That weight is moving up around the middle of the body. That has been more a male pattern of weight gain. So it's been more unusual for women to gain this weight around the middle. And you'll see why it has bigger health risks for us as women. So when we talk about weight, we are, and I am, always talking about fat. So when I talk about losing weight, it's actually losing fat. And this is really important. And we've talked about normally the body mass index, which is a ratio of height to weight. The British Army have given up using BMI now because they were getting really fit, rugby playing men applying to join. If they calculate their body mass index, then they're in the obese category, but they're solid muscle. We can have a couch potato and an athlete with the same BMI, but they've got completely different fat to muscle. And that's why this is really important. I know you want to get on the scales, or you've read the Woman's Magazine, lose a stone in 4 weeks, but you cannot lose more than 1 pound or 2 pounds of fat a week. And you'll see as we go through why it's important that you're losing fat. Because otherwise, if you're losing muscle and you're losing water, that weight will never stay off. So we are talking always about losing fat. Even if I use the word weight, it's actually losing fat. And that's why we brought the body fat machine with us from the clinic, and we'll talk you through your results, because it's important that you get in a healthy range. So let's have a look at this diagram here. What you see on the left is a woman who is a normal body weight, and this lady can also be a normal body weight, but she's got a little bit of extra fat around the middle of the body. We can have an overweight lady, but an overweight lady with extra weight around the middle. And those two women on the right-hand side with the weight in the middle, around the middle of their body, actually have the same health risks. It's where your weight, your fat sits on your body gives you that health risk. And that's what we're going to look at today. Why does the weight go on around the middle? Because if you can treat the cause of a problem, you can get rid of it. And so we're looking at the health risks attached to it, and also why it's going on around the middle and not somewhere else. So when you get home, get out a tape measure. You can do this for the men in your life as well, and I've written it down in the Fat Around the Middle book. You measure your waist and you measure your hip, and you divide your hip measurement into your waist. You should be, as a woman, nearer to 0.8, no matter what age you are. And for a man, you've got a bit more leeway, 0.95. If you are over that 0.8 for a woman or 0.95 for a man, you must do something about it, because this is a real health risk. So it's not your weight that is the important thing. It's body fat percentage and where that's sitting, and you can calculate that with a tape measure. So when we talk about peripheral fat, that's the fat that sits around your hip and thighs. And if I said to you, are you sitting comfortably? And as long as your chairs are all right, that's what's cushioning your buttocks. And it sits around here, and it acts as an insulator. And I know a lot of women don't like it, and if you've got a lot of it there, it can make your knee joints ache because you're carrying weight. But it is completely harmless fat. It is inactive. It sits there, it does nothing, it goes nowhere, and it just sits there completely harmless. We have this other central or visceral fat, and we need some of it because it acts as a shock absorber to your major organs like your heart and your liver, and that's what makes up your apple shape. And it's all well and good as long as it stays under that ratio, 0.8 for a woman, 0.95 for a man. If it goes over that ratio, then that fat changes and it becomes toxic fat. It acts like a gland on its own. It's got a mind of its own. It's not sitting there harmless like the fat around your thighs. It's actually starting to produce substances which are then the risk to your health. And this is the important thing. It's what that fat around the middle is producing that gives you health risks. So what's it doing? It produces blood clotting agents, so it makes your blood clot faster. It produces substances, we call them vasoconstrictors, that narrow your blood vessels and can give you high blood pressure. It creates inflammation in your body. That could be arthritis, joint pains. It could be inflammation in your skin, eczema, psoriasis. It could be inflammation going on in the digestive system. Doesn't matter where it is. Hormones like estrogen. This fat around the middle is a manufacturing plant for estrogen, and it changes your appetite. It produces substances that drive you to eat foods that are unhealthy. So it's not you're lacking in willpower, it's this fat that is pushing you to eat different foods. So what's the cause? Because in nutritional medicine, Whether it's irregular periods, whether it's hot flushes, whether it's you're struggling to get pregnant, it's a question of what's the cause. Because if you can treat the cause, then we can actually then have a permanent cure. So every time you eat, your body's got two choices. Your body's going to either burn that food as energy or it's going to store it as fat. And at the moment, if you have this extra fat around the middle of your body, it's storing too much of it. You're losing the energy from your food, so you could feel tired all the time, and yet you're putting on this extra weight. So we're going to look at why that's happening. Now this is a really important roller coaster. I've gone into it in detail in the book. I'm going to go through it with you, but obviously this slide's going to move on, so keep this in your mind. When you eat, your blood sugar goes up. As it goes up, your pancreas has to release more insulin to deal with that rise in blood sugar. The difficulty is the higher it goes up, let me move that thing off there, the higher it goes up, the lower it drops. And at the drop, we call it low blood sugar or hypoglycemia. Your body doesn't like it. It does two things. It sends you off for a quick fix, like that bar of chocolate or a cup of tea or a biscuit to bring it up. And at the same time, it releases your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Because those hormones, when they're normally released, your life's in danger. And your body's got to have instant energy for you to run or fight for your life. So if your blood sugar drops low, in order to release your sugar stores, it releases adrenaline and cortisol. So these two hormones, insulin is your fat storing hormone of the body. It makes your body turn that food into fat rather than burning it as energy. And cortisol down here says put that fat around the middle. So you've got messages from two hormones that are coming out from this blood sugar roller coaster that are saying store your food as fat, put it around the middle. Now why around your middle and not around your hips? Because around your middle of the body, it's close to your liver and your major arteries. It can get to that fat storage quickly in an emergency. If it puts it down by your hips, it's a long way away. So it's doing it almost like a protective cushion, because when these hormones are released, it thinks your life's in danger. So the problem is, fat around the middle increases your risk of heart disease and strokes, high blood pressure, cancer, especially breast cancer for women, type 2 diabetes, and also Alzheimer's. So I will see women in the clinic who are on statins for high cholesterol. This is going to be the same woman. Statins for high cholesterol, she's on high blood pressure medication, she's on an insulin sensitizer for diabetes. And no one is saying to her, let's treat the cause. And what you're thinking in your mind is you will have certain family history risks. Some of you may have a family history risk of heart disease, and that's where your weakness would lie. Some of you may have a family history of Alzheimer's or type 2 diabetes. It does not mean that you are going to end up going down that route like your mother or father, but you are more likely to, and therefore you have to do something about it. And I always say, think of yourselves as being dealt a hand of cards, and we get this hand of cards that comes down through the family, and you're stuck with that hand of cards. But you can decide how you play those cards, and that can change your future health. And that's what we're talking about. It's not only now your body shape and how you feel in terms of your energy and your clothes, but it's also your future health that we're talking about. So why heart disease? Why would that blood sugar roller coaster have an impact on your risk of heart disease? Because normally when you eat and insulin is released into your bloodstream, your liver does not at the same time release fat. But because this roller coaster is going on day in, day out, it begins to ignore what's going on with that blood sugar roller coaster, and your liver produces more cholesterol, more bad cholesterol, less good cholesterol. Only 20% of cholesterol comes from your diet. The other 80% is produced by your liver. So if you've got high cholesterol, we have to look at what's going on with your liver. And that roller coaster also releases or increases fibrinogen. That fat around the middle does, because normally if those stress hormones are released, your life is in danger. Somebody could be chasing you with a knife, your body assumes you could be cut and you're going to bleed. So it instantly releases something that's going to make your blood clot faster. Well and good if there's a possibility you might be cut or injured. And what about diabetes? Well, if you're living on that roller coaster day in, day out, your pancreas is having to produce more and more insulin. First of all, your body becomes insulin resistant. It can't use the insulin properly, so your pancreas produces even more. But then over time, your pancreas is producing more and more insulin and asking to do too much. And in the end, it goes, oof, can't do that anymore, and packs up. And then you're going to need insulin from the outside. We have this huge problem in terms of diabetes and also pre-diabetes, where people don't even know they've got it. We've now got children as young as 9 and 10 in the UK with type 2 adult onset diabetes. So this is a huge health risk for us in the UK. And what about high blood pressure? Because normally when your life's in danger, your body has to get your blood to your extremities as fast as possible for you to run or fight for your life. So it has to narrow your blood vessels to do it. Again, well and good if you are really running or fighting for your life, but no good if you're still stuck in that traffic jam. You haven't eaten much, you're really anxious, and you're going to end up with high blood pressure. And then Alzheimer's, because the same thing that's going on in the heart, in some people will be going on in the brain. So you'll get that furring up in the brain, clogging up the blood vessels. It's just that you may have more of a strong family history risk of heart disease and somebody else for Alzheimer's. So same mechanism going on in the body, but just hitting a different place. And then cancer. High levels of insulin are linked to all of these cancers: bowel, liver, pancreas, breast, ovary and womb. So if you've already had a problem with cancer, you're working on prevention. So this is really important. Insulin is a grower. It makes things grow, and that's the problem in terms of cancer. And then we've got breast cancer. Apple-shaped women, 88% more likely to get breast cancer, because this fat around the middle is a manufacturing plant for estrogen. So if you're producing too much estrogen, it's going to be a risk for you. And cancer cells feed in a different way from healthy cells. They feed by a process called anaerobic glycolysis. They feed on sugar, on glucose. So actually, when you change your diet, you stop that roller coaster of blood sugar swings, you are starving cancer cells of their fuel. So that's why this is really important. Now, I'm going to read you out some symptoms. We are talking about irritability, aggressive outbursts, nervousness, depression, crying spells, dizziness, fears and anxiety, confusion, forgetfulness, inability to concentrate, fatigue, insomnia, headaches, palpitations, muscle cramps, excess sweating, digestive problems and lack of sex drive. Everybody all right? Got a few of those? They do look like menopausal symptoms. They also look like premenstrual symptoms, but they are none of those. These are symptoms due to that drop in blood sugar, that hypoglycemia. Day in, day out in the clinic, women are coming in with mixtures of these symptoms that seemingly seem totally unrelated. And what you do is you do the thing that's so easy and practical to do. You sort out that blood sugar roller coaster, and then you see what symptoms have actually disappeared and what are left. And you do that because it's the most important thing for your health. So there are a number of other symptoms: increased appetite and particularly cravings, because if your blood sugar drops, your body's got to send you off for that quick fix. It's got to bring that up quickly. We're talking about a slump in the afternoon. So when we get to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe you'll get it today, you think, I've got to have that cup of tea and a biscuit or a chocolate bar, or I'm not going to make it through to dinner time. Low immune system, one infection after the other. You don't get over one properly before the next one hits you. Headaches, and especially waking up with them in the morning. Headache or a migraine, that's because your blood sugar has crashed overnight and you're waking up with a headache. And nail biting or skin picking. This sort of thing that's going on is a manifestation of that stress effect coming out on the outside of your body. So the body gives signs that things are going on that you need to do something about. It will make you tired because your body is not using your food for energy. We talked about inflammation. Anywhere where you've got pain, discomfort, you're going to produce more inflammation because of this fat around the middle. Mood swings, and another clue are those skin tags. So for those of you who've got those floppy bits of skin around your neck, insulin is a grower. Whether it's growing something inside of you like a tumour or a bit of floppy skin on the outside, it's a sign to say your blood sugar is not under control. Or you can get skin discoloration between the elbow and the shoulder where it looks dirty, but it's not. It's the effect of that blood sugar roller coaster. It makes us get older faster. It will wrinkle your skin, it will harden arteries, but it's also hardening things on the outside as well. And thyroid problems, which are really common for women. Now, along with your thyroxine, if you're on that, or you produce what we call T4, but cortisol, the stress hormone that comes out with adrenaline, blocks your active thyroid hormone T3. So I get women in the clinic who say, I'm going back to see my GP, I'm on thyroxine, I still can't lose weight, I still feel tired, I need a higher dose. But you can actually have one of the stress hormones making it difficult for your body to use the thyroxine you've been given. And we had a lovely lady come into the clinic with an enlarged goiter, or she had a goiter, so an enlarged thyroid gland. Seen the endocrinologist, all her hormones were fine, so basically couldn't do anything. But she'd lost her father, she'd been made redundant, she wasn't eating very well. So under a lot of stress, and I said, let's get your health back again. And by doing that and calming down the adrenal function, getting her eating regularly, the thyroid gland, or the goiter went down. So all of your body, all the systems are connected to every other system. I know you go to the hospital and you end up at the ENT department or gastroenterologist or gynecologist, but we're not split like that. And as you change one system in the body, you get this positive domino effect throughout your whole body. So really important, just making simple changes make this cascade effect through your whole system. Concentration and memory, you'll find you'll get that back again if you sort out this blood sugar. And all of those with digestive problems, like a lot of flatulence and bloating. If a tiger came in the door at that end now, most of us would probably be out the other end. Some of you may stay and try and, capture this tiger. But you are still not sitting here eating a sandwich. And in that instant of that stress response, your digestive system shuts down, because all your energy is being used to save your life, and it will move all your energy away from your digestive system to your extremities. So if you're eating on the run, you're eating rushed, you are eating on a compromised digestive system, and that food will go in there, it will ferment, you'll get gas and bloating, even if it's good food. It will not be moving through your system properly, and that's how you can see how so many things can be connected together. So we're going to go through 7 important dietary steps. I can only touch on them because I've only got a short amount of time with you, but I have covered them all in detail in the book. So the first one is you don't diet. The diets are designed for you to fail. They want you to join the next club, the slimming club, buy the next meal replacement, buy the next slimming magazine. So they're not in your best interest. And a diet implies that you do something, then you stop it, and then you go back to eating normally. You want to end up with a way of eating that's a way of life, that 80% of the time you're eating well. The other 20%, birthday parties, holidays, your body will cope with. And your body is really clever. I see women in the clinic who say, well, I'm just having a cup of coffee for lunchtime, or maybe a yogurt. I'm missing out all those calories, but I'm not losing weight. If you miss food or you leave long gaps without food, your body thinks there's a famine going on. It doesn't know you've done this deliberately. And a famine is a stress because it's survival. If there's no food, there's a stress. It's a survival problem. So what it's going to do is slow your metabolism down and hold on to fat stores that you have. It would rather burn muscle than lose that fat. It means then when you eat your evening meal, you're going to be eating it on a slower metabolism, you'll absorb more calories from it because your body doesn't know whether you're going to eat in another 3 hours or another 3 days. And if you crash diet, when you go and look on the scales, it may look impressive. You may look like you've lost a good few pounds, but you are also losing muscle and water. And when you go back to normal eating, all that weight goes back on as fat. So you get fatter after a diet. It means then the next diet has to be stricter, and you end up with this yo-yo dieting, which is messing up your metabolism. You cannot lose more than 1 pound or 2 pounds of fat a week. Forget the scales, forget the weight. It's really misleading. It's leaving you trapped. Eat little and often. You do the opposite to what you think. So you're having breakfast, lunch and dinner, and in the back of the book are snack suggestions, meal plans, and then every 3 hours. You don't go longer than 3 hours without eating. And what your body says is complete abundance of food out there, no famine going on. You can eat whenever you want. So what does it do? It lifts up your metabolism, gives you the energy that you need, and it lets go of the fat store. This is not a diet, it's getting the message that it doesn't need a fat storage, so it lets it go, and your mood will stabilise. It's not on that roller coaster, because your mood ends up being stable. The snacks aren't chocolate every 3 hours, but there are healthy suggestions in the book. Don't skip breakfast. You are breaking a fast. That's what it's meant to be. If you miss breakfast, by 11 o'clock, you will be heading for that cup of coffee and a Danish. And every day your body knows the routine that you're in. It feels safe and secure, and it won't need this extra fat storage around the middle. And this is the big one. You have really got to think about eliminating or at least reducing added sugar and refined carbohydrates. So we talk about glycemic index, and what we're talking about is having a low glycemic index diet. The easy way to think of it is if a food has got added sugar in there, if it's white flour, white rice, your body's going to break it down quickly. It hits your bloodstream quickly, up it goes, the top of that roller coaster, out comes the insulin, it'll crash down, you need another quick fix. And it's the problem of this added sugar often in the foods that you're eating. And they will be in there often hidden that you may not know in savoury foods like tomato ketchup, tomato soups, spaghetti sauces. They estimate now that even if you don't put sugar in tea and coffee, you're getting through 47 teaspoons of added sugar in your food every day. And that's a huge amount because your body will turn that into fat and store it around your middle. Now, people will say, come in the clinic, I'm eating a low-fat organic fruit yogurt. In a fruit yogurt, forget the fruit, but in the fruit yogurt you can have 8 teaspoons of added sugar. You've got to read the labels. Breakfast cereals, especially children's ones now, there's more sugar in a portion of children's breakfast cereal than there is in a donut. And hopefully most mothers wouldn't think of giving a donut to their child in the morning. But you need to read the labels, and it will be often broken down into 4 or 5 sugars, especially in breakfast cereals, because if they added it up and called it sugar, it would be the first ingredient. So you've got to read the labels. But don't switch over. I know the tendency is to think, I'll do an artificial sweetener, but they are completely chemical and artificial. They're classed as neurotoxins. They have an effect on your brain. And I did a cancer talk a while back, and a neurologist was also speaking, and what she said was she didn't think artificial sweeteners would cause a brain tumour. But if there was a slight hint of one, it would accelerate its growth. So one of the worst case scenarios would be having chewing gum with an artificial sweetener can go right through the soft palate in the roof of your mouth, straight to your brain. So if a food says no added sugar, that might be correct, and they might have used a bit of fruit juice or something like that. Or it might have an artificial sweetener instead. So you need to think about it. But what's really interesting is the artificial sweeteners have been shown to make you gain more weight and increase your appetite because they're really sweet. So when your body gets this amount of sweetness coming in, it normally expects a bulk of calories to come with it, but it doesn't. They don't come with the sweetener. So what it does is it sends you off later to get those bulk of calories from somewhere else. So you end up with an increased appetite and more weight gain. Add protein to each meal. So as you add a protein to a starchy carbohydrate, it lowers the GI, it slows down the rate of digestion. So you can have a lovely bowl of porridge in the morning, which is good anyway, but if you sprinkle ground up nuts or seeds on the top, you've got an even better breakfast. So I put loads of food suggestions in there. Those of you who are vegetarian, you also have to make sure you've got enough vegetable protein in there, because it's very easy to have a bowl maybe of white pasta lunchtime with a bit of tomato sauce. That's all carbohydrates. So you've got to think of animal or vegetable protein mixed together because it slows the rate of digestion. And I know people think about food combining years ago, or as it was called, food uncombining really. But there's no culture around the world who splits their carbohydrates and proteins. They'll all have rice and beans, or fish and rice, or bread and fish, something like that. I know fish and chips in the UK, which isn't brilliantly healthy, but that's the way we would have always combined our food. And it's really important, if your blood sugar is all over the on that roller coaster, that you make sure there's a bit of protein always with the food that you're eating. And eat essential fats. These are important because often women will say to me, well, fat is fattening, all fat is bad, so they've cut out all these essential fats and they end up drying up from the inside out. Dry hair, dry skin, pains in their joints, they end up with sometimes nails they can peel off. And these are essential fats. And I think if there's one thing you go away today, fat does not make you fat. You do not, don't want a lot of saturated fat, but it's anything that causes insulin to be released is your fat storing hormone. And that's driven by sugar, which is a carbohydrate, and refined carbohydrates. It's not fat that does it. And that's why all these low-fat foods and that, and yet the obesity crisis is getting worse in the UK because we're focusing on the wrong thing. So this is the kind of dose of an omega-3 fish oil you'd want today. I put that up there. I bought some of the supplements I use in the clinic because you can see the kind of quality that you ought to be using. And do not go by the hype of a front of a fish oil where it may say 1,000 milligrams. That's meaningless. It's the EPA, which is your anti-inflammatory bit, and the DHA, which feeds your brain, which is now being looked at in terms of prevention of Alzheimer's, working on memory and concentration. And I actually don't recommend you do cod liver oils. Your liver, as in the liver of the fish, is your waste disposal unit of the body. All your hormones, toxins, any medication you take has to pass through the liver and be broken down by the liver into harmless substances. So when they take the oil from the liver of the fish, it's the most polluted part of the animal. And a couple of years ago, two very well-known cod liver oil supplement companies had to remove the whole lot off the shelves in the chemists and the high street stores because of high levels of dioxins. So when it says fish oil or omega-3, the oil is taken from the body of the fish and not the liver. Don't eat on the run. So take your time because your digestive system will be compromised. You will not get the benefit from your food. And it takes 20 minutes for your brain to actually register that you're full. So if you eat fast, you can get a lot of food in there before your body says, stop, I've had enough. So take your time, chew your food. You'll find actually you'll automatically eat less because your body will tell you when it's satisfied. So slow it all down. And watch what you drink. I bet some of you wish you'd not sat down now. But you've got to be, if you've got a lot of those symptoms that I read out, you've got to be careful of things like coffee because it's a stimulant, anything with caffeine in it. It's going to shoot your blood sugar up. It's going to come crashing down. So you may have to take a break from it for a while. There is a good 3-month lose your belly program in the book. Tells you how to do it. Alcohol acts as a diuretic, so you lose valuable nutrients from your urine, and you think of that classic beer belly on men. So it is a liquid carbohydrate. Think about including more water, herb teas, things like that. So there are other ways of doing it. Okay, I'm going to talk about supplements because this is a way of putting together certain nutrients that are going to make it faster for your body to let go of that weight. So whether I'm working on fertility or the menopause, any kind of problem, there are certain key nutrients that we know from the medical literature are going to make it faster for you to reach your goal. And the quality of the supplements you choose is critical. You get what you pay for. So when you're turning your health around in, say, 3 months, you want to get the best quality. So we brought a few with us from the clinic. I would suggest that you don't use tablets. Tablet, they have to put fillers and binders in there to make it into that hard shape. Your body's got to do a lot of work then to break that down to get at the nutrients. Whereas if you have a capsule, all your body's doing is melting that capsule, and then it's getting access to the nutrients. And I'll put up here just an example of the normal calcium that's often on prescription, and it's carbonate. It's an inorganic mineral. It is very difficult for your body to absorb. Any of you who've used ferrous sulfate before for anemia will find you could end up with constipation or black stools because your body's struggling to absorb that inorganic mineral. So when it's in an organic form, it's much easier for your body to use. So think about that generally. It's the form of the nutrients in order for you to get the benefit. So there are benefits in using supplements along with the dietary changes. They help you burn off belly fat, reduce cravings, especially for sweet foods. They help control your appetite, increase metabolism, help your body cope with that stress from outside, cushion the effect on your adrenal glands, and help you become more sensitive to insulin. So your body and your pancreas is not overworking to move that glucose out of your blood into your cells, which is what it's supposed to do. So, unfortunately, at the moment, the well-balanced diet is a bit of a myth, and you'll see with all the government fruit and vegetable messages that not everybody's managing to do it. And we have issues with the quality of food. We don't have the minerals that we would have had maybe a generation ago. We've only got half the selenium we should have in the soil. So yes, your food is always the foundation of your health, and that must be as good as you can get it. But when there's times when your health needs a bit of a help or a kickstart, then you put in a few key nutrients for a short period of time to give yourself that boost. The main one, when you think of this blood sugar roller coaster, is chromium. It's the one that helps with cravings, helping settle down that roller coaster. And what you'll see interesting in this study is that a lack of chromium is linked to high cholesterol and plaque in the arteries. So we're back again to that link between blood sugar and heart disease. So if you've been told you've got high cholesterol, you sort out your blood sugar side, because that insulin is making your liver produce too much cholesterol. So yes, you control it with your food, but you're also working on the amount of cholesterol that's coming from your liver. And we know that people with type 2 diabetes have lower levels of chromium. So again, we're trying to give their body a bit of a boost. And magnesium. Magnesium is a wonderful mineral. We call it nature's tranquilizer. And when we talk about bone health and that, everybody's putting all the emphasis on calcium. And actually, when we test in the clinic, people are more deficient in magnesium than calcium. And it's a really important one with this blood sugar side, because there's a strong link between not having enough magnesium and becoming insulin resistant. And a huge study, 12,000 people over 6 years, those with the lowest magnesium intake, 94% chance of developing type 2 diabetes. So if you've got a family history risk of diabetes there, and you know, oh gosh, I could go down that same route as my mother or father, you get good levels of these nutrients in, you're working all the time on prevention. And vitamin E, which you know is a really good antioxidant, often will be in skin creams because it's good antioxidant on the top of the skin as well as in the body. And what it's doing for this blood sugar side is it keeps your insulin receptors soft and flexible, same as the omega-3 fish oils do. And by keeping them soft and flexible, it prevents that insulin resistance. So it enables that insulin to move through the cells easily. And this was 600 IUs of vitamin E daily given to diabetic patients, reduced both glucose levels and free radical damage, which makes us get older faster, increases the risk of cancer, in 2 weeks. Now we normally aim for a 3-month turnaround, but you'll see, if you feed your body the right nutrients, it will heal itself. It will balance your hormones, whether they're female hormones or whether they're hormones going on with your adrenal glands or your blood sugar. You are aiming to feed it the tools to make that balance itself, and it will do it, often in a short space of time. Vitamin C, which you all know is good for your immune function, but you may not also know that if you have good levels of vitamin C, you'll burn 30% more fat when you exercise. So anything that gives you a bit of an edge, wonderful. And I would say don't use the ascorbic acid version. There is an alkaline version called ascorbate. So really important when I'm talking about osteoporosis and bone health, because if your body becomes too acidic, you're leaching calcium from your bones. And a lot of people have said to me they can't normally take vitamin C because they find it irritates them. But that's because it's ascorbic acid. So again, the form of the nutrient that you're taking will enable your body either to absorb it better or to actually make it easier to swallow it and take it in the first place. And coenzyme Q10, it's a substance we produce naturally in the body. We produce less of it as we get older. It's important for energy production within your cells, but it's also been used in terms of reducing glucose and insulin, but it's also really good if you've got high blood pressure. So you'll find a number of the nutrients that you use for one thing will have an effect on another. And this one also helps increase good cholesterol as well. So you get a number of benefits by putting these nutrients in. In the book, it gives you all the dosages, and you can take all these separately, but I'll show you how you do it in a combination that makes it more convenient to do. And there are some others. Zinc, which helps your body cope with stress. Alpha lipoic acid, which is anti-aging. Again, a good one for high blood pressure and improves insulin sensitivity. You've got the B vitamins, which we know as your stress vitamins. They're important if you're under a lot of stress, especially vitamin B5. And green tea extract. Now, when it's in the extract form, there's no caffeine in there, but it has a fat-burning effect. And it also has good levels of antioxidants, so it's a good one to take when you've got to lose fat around the middle. And there is a herb called Siberian ginseng. It's an adaptogenic herb. It has this really calm, balancing effect on your body. It is not the same as Panax or Korean ginseng, which I would never suggest a woman uses because it's a very masculine herb and can actually speed your body up and give you palpitations. So it's a very calming herb, like a tonic to your adrenal glands. So all of these nutrients you can take separately, or you can take them together. And there's one I use in the clinic called Nutri Support. And it's one with this yellow label, and it's got all of those in it combined. So we use that as part of the Lose the Belly program. And then there's one more thing, and these are amino acids. Now, when you eat protein, your body breaks them down into amino acids, and they have different benefits in the body. So they help with higher levels of cortisol. They help regulate your blood sugar. Some of them become essential when you're under stress, like arginine and glutamine. And tyrosine is really important for your thyroid function. And it's like feeding the thyroid. So even if you're on thyroxine, you want to end up with the least dose possible by getting your thyroid to use that hormone effectively. So over time, with a lot of this work that you're doing, you may need less blood pressure medication, you may find you need less thyroxine. You're trying to get your body to function more effectively. So these are the two I use in the clinic, the Nutri Support for the blood sugar and the adrenals, and all the amino acids are in together. So they work on the fat burning and the metabolism. So you think of a fat around the middle program for 3 months. These two, vitamin C and fish oil, along with the dietary recommendations as well. So you're trying to put them all together in order to change that shape. And we're talking about inch loss, not weight loss. Some of the women in the clinic are losing 7 to 10 inches around the middle. So really important to sort this out. And there is a new syndrome, it's called hurried woman syndrome. They think 75% of us women are suffering from it. Because we've talked about that roller coaster causes the release of stress hormones, but you're also releasing stress hormones because of pressures from outside. So it's this no time for me, you've got 24-hour television, 24-hour shopping, texting. It's very difficult nowadays to calm the body down. So any time you can get for yourself is wonderful, because we just want to calm your body down and stop the excess release of those stress hormones, whether they're coming from your pattern of eating or whether they're coming from stress outside. So I put a few tips up. Prioritize. So do only the things you need to do. Can you get help? And I know as women, it's very difficult to say no sometimes, and you might need to get help with that. Put yourself first, have a good sense of humour, and take time to eat. Do not rush, even if you've only got 10 minutes at lunchtime. Sit down, take your time, chew your food. Relaxation techniques, so any kind of meditation, stress management, any kind. Exercise is important, and I'll show you why in a minute, but it's got other benefits. But normally when your stress hormones are released, you've got an action. You're going to run or you're going to fight for your life. You're not sitting in a traffic jam. So when you exercise, you're actually releasing those stress hormones. You're getting them out of your body. So do that exercise, and it releases endorphins, it lifts up your mood. It's really important. Learn to breathe. Those of you who do yoga or are singers will be able to belly breathe, and I've described how you can teach yourself to do that in the book. Because a lot of us will shallow breathe, and when we're under stress, real stress, with those stress hormones are released, the body makes us do that to get oxygen around the body quickly. So when you learn to belly breathe, you can literally switch off that mechanism, and it will brings this down completely. So really important. And I put up there about take time to go to the toilet. I work with a number of consultants, and one of them's a gastroenterologist. And he said to me, he said, us men are very different. He said, we're going to the toilet with a newspaper and a book. We can be in there for about half an hour. He said, you women don't even have time to go to the toilet properly. And I know it's not very British talking about that part of the body, and we've talked about how you want good food going in, but you also need it coming out, those waste products. You need to go regularly, and regularly is not every 3 days. It is every day. So if you're not going to the toilet properly, don't go down the laxative route, because that's training your body basically not to work, because something's doing it from the outside. So come over and get some help, and we'll help you with that. One thing I should have remembered when we were talking about that roller coaster, and it's a really common symptom, is that you can go to bed and you'll go to sleep and your head hits the pillow really easily, and then you get to 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning and you're wide awake. And you could think, I don't know what's happened. Some women will think, oh, I'm having a hot flush or a night sweat. You could have palpitations. Some people get up and have a bowl of cereal and go back to bed again. But what it is at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, your blood sugar has dropped and you've had an adrenaline surge. And when you sort out what's going on in the day, that will go. We do it every day in the clinic. It's so common. And that is really important to sort that out, because it's disturbing your sleep. It will affect your energy the next day. I know some people who wake up at 4 actually can't go back to sleep again, and they're awake for the rest of the night then. So you need to sort it out, and it is the effect of that roller coaster and your adrenaline surging through in the middle of the night. So, little last bit on weight gain with age and exercise. As we get older, we lose muscle. And men start off with more muscle than we do as women, so they have a bit of advantage anyway. And as women, between the ages of 40 to 50, we can lose up to 5 pounds of muscle. And you could think, does that matter? It matters a lot, because a pound of muscle burns 75 calories a day, a pound of fat burns 8 calories a day. So I see women who go to the gym 3 times a week, and they say to me, I'm not losing weight, and I'm especially not losing this fat around the middle. Again, because your body is really clever. If you get on that treadmill or you do the same walk, same time, 20 minutes every day, your body adapts to that exercise, and it will use less energy to do the same exercise over time. And when you do something that's a steady state, it takes the energy from your muscles. It doesn't take them from your fat stores. It takes the energy from your muscles because it's quicker, and it can do that exercise and you're finished. And you wonder why actually you're not losing fat, and you're definitely not changing the weight around the middle. So my suggestion would be 2 things. One of them would be that you do interval training. Whether it's a walk in the park or whether you're in the gym, that you do something and you do it full pelt, and then you bring it down, only for a few seconds, full pelt again, and bring it down. And I've described how you do it in the book. And what it's doing, it's called metabolic disturbance. Your body can't adapt to it because it's going all over the place. And what it does is it takes the energy from your fat stores in order to keep you going. And then the other one, if you go into the gym, you'll see all the women on the cross trainer and the treadmill and all the men on the weights, and it seems a bit unfeminine. But the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. So this is not for you to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. But as you put on muscle, muscle takes up 5 times less space than fat. So as you put that muscle on, you get slimmer. Your clothes feel looser, your inches are coming off. But muscle is heavier than fat. So you can get on the scales and you think, oh, this isn't working. But it is, because you're losing fat. That's what you want to lose, not muscle and water. So you have to change this thinking about weight. It's irrelevant. It's your percentage of body fat on your body, or else you're doing it with a tape measure. You're looking for inch loss. So have a bit more muscle on your body, because if you've got more muscle, just sitting there, you're burning fat. So it's a really big difference. And it's this weight thing about everybody thinking, oh, I've lost 5 pounds this week. Yeah, but 5 pounds of what? That's the important thing. It's got to be fat. You can't lose muscle, because it's really hard to keep getting that back again. So you've got a 3-month lose your belly plan. Sort out your food. I cannot stress enough that blood sugar. Sort it out, because you may miraculously find that a lot of symptoms that you thought were completely unrelated are all connected to that roller coaster. Put in a few key supplements while you're doing this in order to change your body's shape. Think about your exercise. Change the exercise that you're doing. Small tweaks make a big difference. In the back of the book, there are ones that you can do at home. So you're not going to get on a leotard and go to the gym if you don't want to go. Lifestyle, just think, how can you calm that down? Can you say no a bit more? Are there things you could say, I haven't got time to do that? And just, especially those of you what we call the sandwich generation, where you've got elderly parents, you've got children, and I know women in the clinic describe they're feeling pulled in all directions at the same time. They feel guilty if they're not looking after the other one, and they're sort of bottom of the list somewhere down there. So just to finish up, this is a normal spider's web. And this was just in case you didn't get the message about the caffeine. This was a study by NASA, and they gave this poor spider caffeine. And you'll see that actually it's not very good. And this was a documentary on the television where you saw this poor spider trying to spin this web. They then gave the spider marijuana, and you'll see it's much better, but I'm not suggesting you change over. And the last one is tongue-in-cheek, and that's the effect of Heineken. So I'd like you, I'll put this up here, to think of yourselves at a crossroads. You've got 2 paths. There's this one path to degenerative illness. We're talking about cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. I'll even put arthritis in there. Just because it's common does not mean to say it's normal. And you've got this other path to good health. It does mean you take responsibility for your health, but I cannot stress enough how important that is for your long-term health. And for those of you women coming up towards the menopause, you can now live 30 to 50 years past the menopause, and you want to live that with a good quality of life. And I mentioned it yesterday, but I gave a talk on the menopause a while back, and we had a bit of time for questions. And at the end of it, a woman at the back said, yes, she said, how old are you then? So I said, well, I'm 60 this year. So she said, well, she said, if you were going to say you were 80, I was going to buy everything you suggested. So I'm on stand H332. I'll be there for about an hour, so come over and I'll love to answer any of your questions. If you go along this row here and then go up the 3rd aisle past the Healthy Magazine stand, you'll see us there. We brought the bone scan machine with us from the clinic and the body fat. And in your pack there should be, if I pick one up, a prize draw card, one of these. And if, oh, sorry, I've got yours. So if you fill it in and then come over to the stand, there is a glass box there. Pop it in, because it's a free prize draw for a consultation at one of my clinics. We can even do it by telephone if you live a long way away. But come over, we've got the nutritionists from the clinic. Do make the most of us today. We are happy to answer lots of your questions, even if it's not connected to this. We're happy with that. So come over and have a word with us. So lovely to speak to you, and see you tomorrow if you're around. Bye.
So that's it, another year and the Vitality Show is done. But it will be back next year with loads more stuff. So whatever you do, keep it locked to Fitness TV.